Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reading and reacting and possibly responding to some lovely comments that were left on a video that I uploaded to YouTube and Instagram that was originally from TikTok. On Instagram and YouTube specifically, I got a lot of pushback. People were not too happy with what I had to say regarding abortion, most of them being from pro-birthers, but there are a few that were from some people that were pro-choice. Don't forget to like or dislike the video and hit that subscribe button if you so choose. Let's go ahead and see what wise words they have to share with us today. This is cancer. I've never seen such a giant piece of shit. I replied, try a laxative. Someone else said it's not an aggressor, referring to the fetus, and it is consensual. The decision to have sex is deciding to risk allowing a baby to be formed in your body. I also replied to this comment saying, oh really? When you get into the driver's or passenger side of a vehicle, do you consent to the risk of being in a vehicular accident and thereby consent to forfeiting medical treatment for any injuries you may sustain in the process, regardless of who is at fault for said accident? Well, do you? Honestly, they probably responded, but I didn't screenshot it. I restricted a lot of the comments because of the immense amount of hate I was receiving, most of which was not constructive or wasn't at all attempting to be constructive. In 40 years, when you have wasted your life, failed to save for retirement, and now expect the younger generation to pay 40% income tax to pay for your retirement, this video will be played at the 8-minute hearing to decide whether to euthanize you or not. Someone else responded, yes, people who cannot take care of children should not be having them. We gotta get teenage boys vasectomies because they don't know what they're doing. The original commenter replied, or just use existing contraception properly. Funny how it's only our bodies that have to pay the price of not using it correctly or contraceptions failing, because they can fail even when you use them correctly. And you can also be misled into using them incorrectly by one of the parties involved in the having of the sex. Someone said a more accurate analogy would be that you invited a thief into your house knowing they would steal your stuff. Also, we can remove the baby without killing it. Medicine has advanced to that point. I don't know where they're getting that from because that's not true for all stages of fetal development. You cannot remove a 6-week-old embryo from the pregnant person's body without harming that embryo or fetus. I also responded to this comment saying, except not all sex results in pregnancy, and there are valid reasons and benefits to having sex that have nothing to do with getting pregnant and procreating. So it's not a matter of inviting them in the first place. I also just have to add, after having some of these conversations under my post on Instagram, one thing that's always fascinated me about the pro-life, pro-birth mindset of those who are coming at it from the perspective of a right-wing Christian zealot is how often I find they are completely incapable of picking a narrative and sticking to it when it comes to the purpose and meaning behind our existence as human beings. I say this because in my experience, whenever it is brought to their attention that our species benefits and thrives off of consensual sex for reasons that have nothing to do with getting pregnant, let alone staying pregnant, they almost immediately push back against that by pretending that the only purpose humans have for engaging in sexual activity is to reproduce. That's the end all be all. We are born, we live, we fuck. We have offspring to continue the cycle and ensure our survival as a species. We're animals. We're mere cockroaches whose only purpose of existence is to keep on existing. Except their scripture tells us otherwise, right? Because according to the word of God, or rather the word of the men who spoke in the name of God, humans were created by God, not only in the image of God himself, but actually put on this planet to inherit it and all of its non-human inhabitants. Everything else that came before us was, in fact, made for us. Nearly the entire concept behind creation from a Christian perspective hinges on just that. According to their belief system, we are quite literally the center of the universe, the only exception being God himself. So which is it? Are we mere animals with nothing to gain from sex unless it brings more of our kind into existence? Or are we God's chosen creatures to which everything else in the universe exists for or beneath us? Because it can't possibly be both. Personally, I for one would agree that humans are in fact animals. The difference being that I also understand that being an animal doesn't mean that we must thereby thrive and survive off the same means, goals, and desires carried by every other animal in existence. Because we're not birds or wolves or lions or cows, we are humans. And yes, we have actually evolved past the act of sex only being useful by a means of reproduction, nothing more and nothing less. How do I know that exactly? Well, because people aren't only having sex to become pregnant. In fact, the majority of sex that we engage in as a species not only doesn't result in a successful 9-month pregnancy and birth, but the reasons people have for having sex at all, the vast majority of the time, has nothing to do with wanting to become pregnant or staying pregnant. And to deny that truth, quite frankly, is dishonest, if not deliberately deceitful. Let's get real. Please. Consenting to having sex is not consenting to becoming pregnant. Just because pregnancy is a risk that comes with having heterosexual intercourse does not mean you thereby consent to becoming pregnant, let alone staying pregnant. There are a lot of risk factors to a lot of the behaviors that humans engage in. And when it comes to our own bodies, we don't withhold medical treatment from those people who engaged in a risque activity. This was a comment from YouTube, but it actually wasn't on the video that I posted. It was on a different video regarding some training that I was doing for my new job, which involved working in public city schools. And they said, you shouldn't be working with small humans when you don't know what a human is, the smaller it is. Because of course, we should just be firing all teachers, child educators, or child care providers if they are pro-choice or pro-abortion. That's exactly what should happen, right? I could also turn that back against you and be like, you shouldn't be working with small humans when you can't see that the child standing in front of you has rights to their body that should not be taken away, especially when your side is advocating for children being forced to give birth to children before they can even consent to the act which fertilizes a human egg in the first place, because 10-year-olds can't consent to having sex. I've seen some stupid arguments, but this is next level. Surely just trying to go viral. Obviously, I mean, that's all I live for. Morality coming from a person who believes in killing a fetus and claiming self-defense is comical. You have to consent for the baby to use your body when you engage in the act that resulted in pregnancy. You want to make consequence-free decisions. I'm not going to repeat what I've already said, so we'll just leave it at that. What a lunatic. This is what happens when you've lost all your common sense as a human. Self-defense against fetus? Are you out of your mind? The only thing that can defend fetus against people like you is law, but it is still not enough because people today are cruel and they will always find a way to kill or harm an unborn child. I am from Europe and I know exactly what your sick ideology that you praise did to our youth. We as humans are losing common sense, and what is worst, our humanity. I would actually agree with the last sentence there. Probably for different reasons than the ones that this person has. This has to be one of my all-time favorites. Wonder how many humans she sacrificed. Dislike. We should practice self-defense against you. Nothing like getting casual death threats in the comments of a YouTube video. With that line of logic, you were the one who placed it there through your decisions and kidnapped it without its permission. Where do you think babies come from? How does one go about kidnapping a fetus or an embryo that formed inside my body and attached itself to my uterine wall, and then proceeds to trick the body into thinking that it's not a foreign entity to prevent my body from naturally expelling it? It's almost like the entire act of pregnancy is extremely invasive and should require consent from the host in order to continue. Your logic is incredibly flawed and your analogy is shit. I would take the time to explain why, but I'm fairly confident you wouldn't read it, nor care. Well, you were wrong about one of those things. I don't know if this is satire or not. The last of her worries should be getting pregnant. She's actually got to find somebody to find her attractive enough first. high hopes to say the least. Only an evil piece of garbage would claim self-defense against a fetus. Maybe we should start reversing that very process on the people who think that way. Worry about your weight and not people, kids, or their bodies. I love abortion. We need less of people like you in the world. Quit taking up our space. Americans are becoming a new kind of stupid. Clearly, some people have way too much time to be offended. In order to fight off an aggressor, says someone who has never fought anyone for anything. Yeah, I mean, what would I know? I'm just out here getting my human rights taken away. Without your consent, only 1% of abortions are from R-word cases. The other 99% are people that consented to having sex, therefore accepted the risk of being pregnant. I got a lot of random comments that were about this, and just for the record, I was never talking about this, nor was I ever alluding to this. I think people just hear the word consent and they just immediately jump to that conclusion without just pausing to think for a little bit, because you can consent to sex without consenting to a multitude of other risks that could come from having sex. That's not including pregnancy, and that does not thereby mean that you consented to that happening, let alone giving up your human rights to all of your medical options preceding the act. You invited them in. That's murder. I believe you should have your right to murder, but it is murder, and they are murderers. I wonder how many people this person knows that have had an abortion, or how many people this person's friends with that they know had an abortion. Are you often friends with murderers? Is that normal to you? Because if I genuinely believe somebody was a murderer, I would think that they should be in jail. Unless it's self-defense, of course. The only positive of abortion is the people who get them are the people we need less of, and they're willing to do the dirty work. If that's the only positive, then shouldn't you be pro-choice by that definition? I mean, you're saying you'd be happy if I have abortions, right? So wouldn't that go for everybody else? The only people who get them are the people we need less of. Just admit you're pro-choice. Yeah, I'm pro-choice for sure, but arguments like these make the right look sophisticated and intelligent and the left look mentally ill. Never thought I'd see the epitome of mental illness, untreated trauma, lack of accountability for one's own actions, and insecurity in oneself all in one out in the wild. No, because abortions are not because the mother is in any danger whatsoever. They are because the mother was irresponsible and now they are killing the baby for convenience. Not self-defense, my liberal friend. Try murder, not a liberal, just FYI. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video on a bit of a more positive note. I did get a video reply to my TikTok. I'm not going to show the video or give you the username just for their own protection, but if they happen to come across this video and they want to tell the world that it was them who made it, that's fine. But I am gonna play the audio for you.
I feel like that's going a bit far. Here's the thing. I don't want all these like dramatic scenarios, self-defense or you know, oh my god, she's in, you know, the 8th month and she's gonna die if she doesn't get rid of the baby. If you wake up on a Tuesday 3 months in and go, you know what, I'm not fucking financially ready, I'm not mentally and emotionally ready to have a child, to dedicate 18 plus years of my life to raising a child, when I myself am just recently a child. You should be able to fucking do it. You should be able to fucking do it.
Absolutely, my friend. I actually responded to this in a comment and I said, I 100% agree with this. I just don't think self-defense is really that dramatic of a take. If something is happening in my body without my consent, like pregnancy, taking action to prevent that from continuing, in my mind, is me defending myself and my life. They liked my comment and responded in a video. I liked it for later, but I couldn't watch it at the time because I wasn't able to play the audio. So this is actually my first time hearing their response. So let's see what they had to say.
The point I was making is that it doesn't have to be dramatic for it to be true. So I don't want it to be like considered self-defense. I don't want it to get to that point. Like if men could get pregnant, you'd be able to get an abortion like an ATM. Like you just walk into the store, do it, and you're good.
I get what they're saying. At least I think I do. Like, I wish it wasn't to that point. I wish it was just as easy accessible as any other medical procedure that you might need, like getting a tumor removed from your body or getting knee surgery. But I think we're already at the point of it being self-defense because our access to being able to get abortions have been getting limited for decades now. And it's only proceeded to get worse and worse, especially with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So at this point, we're already there. Someone fighting to cross state lines to access legal and safe abortion is them defending themselves and their life. That's where I'm going to leave this video. I just wanted to take some time out of my day and your day, I guess, to share with you all what pro-lifers really think. If only I was aborted, right? They would definitely have less to be angry about if all of the non-religious zealot right-wing conservatives would just fall off the face of the earth or have never been born. It's almost like pro-lifers aren't actually pro-life at all, and they're just pro-forced birth. Because the moment anybody has an opinion that is foreign to them or that they vehemently disagree with, suddenly they'd rather we not exist at all or end up dead. Or they actively advocate for policies and laws that would see us dead. So there you go. That's it for this video. I hope someone out there got something out of it, because I didn't really. Take care. Stay safe, and I will catch you in the next one. Special voice shout out to my top patron, Birdie, and my mod mates, Laura A. and Sarah Z.